Good morning, students. This is Professor Young. I hope everyone is healthy and safe during this COVID-19 health pandemic. I wanted to reach out to you students today for a couple of reasons. One, to thank you for your perseverance, your commitment, your attention that you paid to your goal of passing a course here at Victor Valley College, and in this case, Microeconomics. If you're listening to this video, you more than likely have been able to participate, engage, complete, learn assignments, or shall I say learn based upon assignments that have been given throughout the last, I guess you could say 6 weeks or so since we went on our COVID, since this whole COVID thing happened. Of course, this has been trying and, as I mentioned in an earlier video, opportunistic to the degree that the things that we're going through have been very difficult. And based upon that difficulty, I'd like to view it as an opportunity for me as an instructor to grow, to enhance my ability to teach in a remote modality kind of a mode, which is different for me because I like engaging in courses and lecturing on the board and providing notes and discussing things with my students, which I've been unable to do in these past 6 weeks or so. Again, this video is really to identify the things where we are today in week 14. You'll notice here, and I also want to talk about a couple of changes that I'm going to make to the syllabi, and moreover, talk a little bit about the term project. So you'll notice here that in this week, we're supposed to have our exam 3 on chapters 22, 23, and 24. I will deploy this exam on Wednesday of this week, and then you students will have until Tuesday of next week to complete this. Keep in mind that I am going to have the exam due by 12:45 next Tuesday. It won't be a 10 o'clock p.m. submission. So hopefully those of you that watch this video will pinpoint that time set. I will also make specific comments about this in the module section so that you are ensured that you will have the time appropriately set up so that you don't miss the submission. Again, the exam will be due by 12:45 next Tuesday. Again, by 12:45, not by 10 p.m. So you'll notice this week we're going to be covering, or we covered chapter 13 last week, and so this week we're going to take the exam. So what I've done within Canvas is basically just pulled in each of your lecture PowerPoints, or chapter PowerPoint, shall I say, for this week. So I would suggest that over the next couple of days that you students, of course, review your chapter in depth. You'll notice in chapters 22, 23, and 24, there are various formulas that are required that we remember or be able to at least recall when we talk about the cost formulas for an economic firm. And we've also introduced at this point the relevance of marginal revenue equals marginal cost, and how that formulatic setup indicates where a firm might maximize its profit given a particular number of goods that were produced. We've also been challenged by the fact that we've looked at cost structures, and moreover, we've looked at the cost behavior of things. We've identified that total cost is equal to variable cost plus fixed cost. And we've identified that the FC and the VC are truly things that could be interchangeably viewed within a organization. We've also identified the fact that average variable cost plus average fixed cost equals average total cost. And there has been quite a few graphs, diagrammatical views that we've had to pinpoint. I say this because this is going to be a big part of the exam that you will take this next week. And so you want to be mindful of the precision. You want to be mindful of these formulas as they apply, and you will be required to use them. Of course, you'll have 2.5 hours to complete your exam, as you would if we were to take this in a 2-day setup in a face-to-face class. But more importantly, we go back to the syllabus real quick. I also wanted to make a point that I am going to change the point distribution for the weekly lecture attendance. Again, I noticed in the first couple of weeks, or the first week, that a lot of my students were failing to complete the participation videos or more of the participation discussion board. And because of that, that those 2 points every week or every class time was actually impacting the student score in a negative way. So I'm going to be reducing this. I believe I offered maybe 4 points, and that will be a number augmentation to the overall scoring as it applies to things that we did in our pre-COVID, or should I say our post-COVID reboot. And the only other thing is that you will notice in your Canvas, and I'll show this to you a little bit later, that I have a extra credit survey that I'd like you to take. The accrediting body that gives us accreditation for our college, we call it ACCJC, is asking that we poll our students to see how well they were able to transition from face-to-face to remote learning. And so the survey just asked you students a couple of 4 questions, that is, as to how the adjustment from face-to-face to remote, in terms of how you were able to do in that transitioning. So it is an extra credit, 5 points. I do hope that everyone takes it. So this semester, I am actually going to be assessing all 4 of these SLOs. And so by virtue of the student learning outcomes that you see here, I've embedded in either quizzes, exams, or assignments that you've done a way to assess these SLOs that you see here. So of course, first SLO was utilizing scarcity concepts, understand and explain economic trade-offs, opportunity costs, and rational behavior models. And we looked at a couple of things in this regard, of course, starting at chapter 2 when we discussed production possibility curves. That chapter was largely concentrated on trade-offs and opportunity costs. And of course, rational behavior models is a rational behavior model, for example, the consumer utility behavior model that we looked at. That is, how does an economist or a person that's buying a multitude of things identify the maximums? And we entertained the rational behavior model of consumer utility. That is, where the marginal utility of A is equal to the marginal utility of B, indicates some utility satisfaction. And lastly, we looked at the demand elasticity, which is also a rational behavior model that identified if a price changes, truly how much does a person, according to the law of demand, that is in a situation where we have ceteris paribus, all things being equal, which COVID-19 does not behave well in a situation where we have been confined to our homes and haven't been able to work and do the things that is regarded in our economic system. Then number 2, we've talked a little bit about illustrate graphically and explain using supply and demand models. That was back in chapter 3, and we did a quiz related to that. And of course, we also talked a little bit about government taxation and market prices. We also calculated, analyzed, measured both demand and supply elasticities in chapter 20. That was something that we did, and I gave you students a quiz, and I'll be able to go back and ascertain your level of understanding in that regard. But the item that I really want to emphasize here today is the demonstrate and analyze production cost, profit maximization, and unique market structure short and long run responses. Again, this is the items that have been concentrated in chapter 23, 24. You'll also see it in chapters 25 and 26 next week. There is a big piece in our term project where I actually want you to include graphs that pertain to your corporation. If you've chosen Sony, and you might indicate that Sony Corporation is a oligopoly by virtue of the fact of what they do, then there's going to be a profit maximization that you are supposed to extract and include in your paper regarding an oligopolist market firm. If you are looking at, let's say, McDonald's or a more common restaurant, something like that, then perfect competition may be the market structure. Thus, there's a profit maximization graph that you would need to include in that instance. The other thing that I want to mention is that I do realize that a couple of my students did extra, or should I say their Wall Street journals last week, and I will make sure to go and grade those in the next couple of days. And also, there might have been a student or two that would have done the term project submissions, that is the rough draft, that was called out. Did I actually give you students the ability to turn in a rough draft? Oh, optional. Yes, that was your rough draft here. And so I will make sure to get back to you and get those items to you soon. Okay. Other than that, again, I wanted you to say thank you for your persistence. Thank you for your commitment um, to completing the course and pursuing your goals academically as you are doing here at Victor Valley College. Again, I do appreciate those of you that um, have said to themselves, hey, this is a tough transition, but you've stuck in there and you've chosen, maybe not to drop the class. And if you decide to drop at the end, of course, there's no skin off your back if you feel that the things that you've been unable to do, maybe based upon internet, maybe based upon this modality, students do have that EW item that is a early withdrawal that you can use if you need to drop the course. I wouldn't suggest it. I mean, if you have gotten this far, I would say stick, stand, and stay and do the best you can so that you don't have to take the class completely over again. All right. Okay, if you have any questions regarding this video that I prepared, please email me. Have a great day and best success.